Today I'm going to give you 5 decisions that could potentially make or break your fantasy season and win you a league championship. Now, these are opportunities for you to either buy, hold, or sell guys that potentially could bring you some value to your fantasy team and win you your matchups each and every week. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. Now, up first, we have Xavier Worthy, and this is a guy that I'm going to be selling absolutely. I know what everybody's thinking. This is a guy that potentially should be filling into that Rashee Rice role while Rashee Rice is hurt. However, I disagree. Rashee Rice, first of all, has likely avoided an ACL tear. I saw a report earlier that said that he is not feared to be significantly hurt and could potentially only be out for maybe 4 to 6 weeks. That being said, that is still 4 to 6 weeks that you won't have him. Xavier Worthy, after Rice went out in the first quarter, only managed to grab 45 snaps for 29 routes run and 3 targets. Now, as far as his targets, he had the same amount as Justin Watson, and he had less than Noah Gray and obviously Travis Kelce. He's averaging only 1.48 yards per route run. That's even worse than fellow rookie Xavier Legette, who hasn't really been established into that offense up until this past week. He has had 3 touchdowns so far this season, and he's firmly established himself as a boom or bust in that aspect. The reason I'm going to be selling him is because I don't think he's going to be filling that Rashee Rice role. This is a field stretcher guy. This is not a guy who's going to come in, take 10 targets, 12 targets like Rashee Rice was, and produce those fantasy points for you. This is a guy that's going to line up on the outside and allow guys like Travis Kelce to get open in the middle of the field and gain those fantasy points instead. He does have some touchdown relevance. He is the fastest guy in the league. We all know it. But he's not going to be in that same type of role because he is that field stretcher on the outside. I saw a report from Andy Reid as well that basically had said, in regards to Xavier Worthy, that Xavier Worthy is not going to necessarily take over that role. He's not going to be established as that target guy like everybody's expecting him to be. And he actually said that they are looking through all of their roster. They have a lot of talented guys on there, and they expect everybody to kind of step up, which is a fancy way of saying, yeah, Xavier Worthy's not taking over. He's not going into that exact role. He's going to continue to be the role that he has on the outside and, stretch the field for his fellow receivers. Now, Juju Smith-Schuster used to have that role that Rashee Rice had. You can expect somebody like him to step up, not necessarily produce in the same way, but step up, step into that role, and potentially fill that hole. The reason I'm selling Xavier Worthy is because there's a lot of expectation that he is going to step into that role and he is going to be peppered with targets from Patrick Mahomes. So that is to your advantage, absolutely. Those who firmly believe that, let them believe that. He has had 3 targets last game with Rashee Rice being out pretty much the entire game. He did score a touchdown, but like I said, it is boom or bust. He's either going to get that touchdown and he's going to be very good in your flex spot, or he's absolutely not. And he's going to get 3 targets for 30 yards and he's going to score 6 points and you're going to be disgusted. So while Rashee Rice is out, sell him. Give him to somebody else. Let them take the risk on him. Get some valuable return back and improve your own team. All right, now up next we have Brian Thomas Jr. Now, Brian Thomas Jr. is one of those guys where you didn't really know what you were going to get out of him when the season was upcoming. You knew that he was potentially going to fill the Calvin Ridley role that he had last year, and you knew he was potentially going to be that big playmaker, but you didn't know to the extent that he was going to. And I think he's really established himself in his role currently. Over the last 2 weeks, he has averaged 9 targets per game. That's compared to 4 targets per game in weeks 1 and 2. His slot usage last week went up to 30%, which means that he is getting peppered with more opportunities and has big playmaking ability. He had 28% target share in week 4, 132 air yards, that's 35% air yard share, and a red zone touchdown. He currently ranks 5th in created separation versus man coverage. Christian Kirk actually ranks 1st. So the Jaguars wide receivers are playing very well, despite them being 0-4. He is also currently one of 10 wide receivers to rank in the top 80th percentile in yards per route run, first downs per route run, and fantasy points per route run. The Jaguars defense also is super bad. This is going to be a team that's going to be playing from behind in a vast majority of their games, which means they're going to have to throw the ball a lot more. That should create more opportunities for guys like Brian Thomas Jr. and Christian Kirk. For me, I think Brian Thomas Jr. has much more of a big playmaking ability. He has proven that he can get it done, especially over the last 2 weeks. I have firmly established him in my minimum flex spot on my own fantasy team in the league I'm in, which is a very serious league with my friends. This is a guy that I want to get in absolutely every league. He is only getting better, and as the Jaguars are slowly progressing, or I guess regressing in their games, he's proving that he's going to have these opportunities to show what he's capable of. And, for me, I'm all in. I think that his target usage is only going to go up. I don't think it will go down by any means. I think Trevor Lawrence is finding his rapport with Brian Thomas Jr., and he's establishing himself as that potential, number one or 1A, 1B type guy with Christian Kirk. So I'm all in on Brian Thomas Jr. If you can get him for a value in your league, I would absolutely consider doing it. He is a prime flex opportunity every single week.
All right, now up next, it's time to talk about another Chief, and we're going to talk about Patrick Mahomes, who has been very disappointing up to this point throughout your fantasy season. Absolutely. He was drafted as the QB4 in redraft leagues, currently sitting at QB 15/16, depending on your league settings. He ranks 1st in interceptable passes with 8 total. He's 3rd in total interceptions with 5. He's only behind Anthony Richardson and Will Levis in that category. I think that says a lot. We kind of expected Mahomes to be that guy. He didn't really need to produce, or have weapons to produce, but he was still doing it. He was expected to be one of those guys that was going to produce fantasy-wise without really needing to run the ball. We all had that expectation. We all thought that with Rashee Rice, with Xavier Worthy coming back, having Kelsey already, Pacheco, he was going to be that fantasy viable quarterback. He was going to lead your fantasy team, but he has not done so yet. I do think that the time of Mahomes being fantasy viable, at least for this year, I don't see it improving all that much. I think it's time to sell him. He's still currently 15th in fantasy points per dropback. He ranks 27th in air yards, which means that he is throwing the ball, and of the air yards that are not caught, the yardage not caught, he's 27th in that category. He also ranks 9th in danger plays, which are plays that could result in a turnover. So he is forcing the ball way too much. And it's almost, costing him more fantasy points, not what you want to see. He's 31st in accuracy rating, and he hasn't had any finishes better than quarterback 12 this year, and that was in week 1. Since then, he's been quarterback 14 or worse. So he's been very mediocre, and especially if you're in, one quarterback leagues where you have your top 14 teams at most usually, he's outside of that. It's getting to the point where he's justifying a bench spot on your team if you have another viable quarterback, and it's warranted. He's 16th in quarterback rating, 18th in true passer rating, and he just lost Rashee Rice. This is only going to get worse for him because he has Kelsey, but he doesn't have that wide receiver 1 anymore. I can't imagine what the Chiefs are going to do with this offense, but I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to have Mahomes be my starting quarterback in any aspect. I don't want him to be involved with my fantasy team or affect my wins or losses whatsoever. I think that selling him is very much warranted. There are some very true Mahomes believers out there. Every league has at least one. So if you can dish him for a very good, sizable return, absolutely do it. I think it's a good decision, and I think it'll help you win your fantasy league. Now, up next, we have a guy that everybody looks to be panicking on, and that is Breece Hall. Breece Hall currently ranked RB13 in PPR leagues. There is a lot of people that are ready to give up on Breece Hall because of Braylon Allen looking a lot better. Braylon Allen has the one of the best, Pro Football Focus ratings for running backs at the moment. Breece Hall, not so much. But I'm gonna say don't panic. He's currently 8th in snap share for running back, 2nd in weighted opportunities, 1st in running back targets, 6th in receiving yards. He has the 2nd most receptions, 1st in route participation, 1st in routes run, and he's averaging a total of 6 targets per game. Now, you throw all these stats together, the opportunities are there for Breece to succeed. While he isn't necessarily finding the success that we expected him to, drafting him at RB2, RB1 actually, we shouldn't panic on him. He's going to find his success. I read a metric or saw it on Twitter that he has had the worst run block grading of the entire NFL. It's not even close, which means that he is getting the worst run blocking in the entire NFL when he's given the opportunities. And that has led into some of the issues that he has faced as far as scoring fantasy points. He had a disappointing week last week, only scoring 7. We saw him get kind of stuffed on the goal line versus Denver and not able to convert that touchdown. It is scary, and I do understand that, but you should hold him. Along with this, I do see, there are some concerning metrics. He is 32nd in fantasy points per opportunity, and these are all among qualified running backs. 59th in true yards per carry, 42nd in yards per touch, 109th in expected fantasy points added with minus 15.7, 32nd in yards created per touch. Braylon Allen is just looking better. He is averaging about 3 yards per carry. There is, again, some concern here, but it's too soon. He's too involved in this offense to be traded at any point. He's not going through, the Bijan cycle where Bijan is just not being involved in the offense at all. That is not the case. He has the 3rd most target share on his team. To give up on him so quickly, especially with this being kind of a down moment for him and him still being RB13, I think that says a lot about the potential that he has to be successful for your fantasy team. I think he will be better as the year progresses, and I don't think that giving up on him so soon will get you anything back that would help you win your fantasy league any more than he will. All right, and last but not least, for the wide receiver position, we have Amari Cooper, and I'm going to rule him as a buy. I know that there's a lot of, judgment on this. I know a lot of people want to sell him. They want to get rid of him. They don't want any part of Amari Cooper, but I want to buy very low. He is at the lowest that I think that he will ever be, and I'm ready to buy all in. He's wide receiver 41 currently in fantasy. He's really only had one big week against the Giants where he scored 27 points. Other than that, hasn't really done much, but he is 6th in targets. He's 1st in routes run. He's 3rd in deep targets. He's 1st in total air yards. He is getting the opportunities to make big plays. He is being thrown the ball. He has a ton of targets. He had an 80-yard touchdown wiped off the board last week because of a holding call. It is what it is. I think that he's a lot better than what he has shown. I know that the Browns' offense is absolutely atrocious, but there is some speculation that Amari Cooper could potentially be a trade target for a lot of teams. He converted a lot of his contract to a signing bonus, which makes him very marketable to other teams. And he is on a contract year, which means that the Browns could be ready to ship him off for some type of draft return capital. I saw that he was potentially linked to the Chiefs because of Rashee Rice's injury. You don't really know how serious Rashee Rice's injury is at the current moment, but to see Amari Cooper having that level of trade talk, it's good to see. It's good to see him potentially going to a better team. He could end up somewhere like Buffalo, who needs that wide receiver one like they had in Stephon Diggs. I am going to make the assumption that he is going to progress from here and have better days. His worst days are far behind him. He is the fourth worst among receivers with 10 plus targets in catch rate over expectation. That's minus 15% of catch rate expectation. He's last in the same kind of category with 10 targets in receiving yards over expectation with minus 90 receiving yards. He is as low as he will ever be. I think he will have some amazing games over the next, couple of games. Actually, over the duration of the season for the Browns or whoever he plays for. He has a great matchup this upcoming week in Week 5 against Washington. You're going to be able to get Amari Cooper from somebody that's pretty low. I would almost argue that Amari Cooper owners are so frustrated that they're going to be willing to get rid of him for somebody like a wide receiver 2 because they are performing better. And that is fine by me because those wide receiver 2s, 3s, whatever that I have, the Trey Tuckers of the world, they're willing to give him up. I got Amari Cooper for so cheap in one of my leagues. It was not, something. I got him for Jameson Williams. I'm all for that. He's a firm wide receiver 1. Jameson Williams is not he's a boomer bust option. I'm willing to do that every day of the week. I think that Amari Cooper could get hot when he needs to, just like he did last year. I'm all in on him. I'm ready to buy him. I'm ready to buy low. Go ahead and do it. It's good for your fantasy league. I promise you. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys like this video and you guys want to see more videos like it, make sure that you subscribe down below. It really helps me out and allows me to see what kind of videos you guys do like and what videos you guys don't like, and establish what I can do to help you guys win your fantasy leagues this year and in future years. So thank you guys so much for watching. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.